Good afternoon, everyone. I am Velasco, and I will be reporting the topic a model of stressors, stress, and outcomes. My topic outline is under the stressors. There are individual level, group level, organizational level, non-work. Under the stress, individual differences, and under the outcomes, we have behavioral, cognitive, and psychological. The majority of persons who work say that their commitment to work-related activities and preparation time exceeds 40 hours per week. Our lives are largely dominated by work and non-work activities are very intertwined. At best, the line separating stress at work from stress at home has always been artificial. Even this artificial divide has dissolved as the number of dual career couples and people who work from home has skyrocketed. However, the main issue here is with direct stressors tied to employment. This is because the book places a lot of focus on conduct and performance at work. Undoubtedly, managers need to pay attention to non-work concerns when and if people choose to talk about them in private. Let's proceed to the stressor at individual level. First is the role conflict. Role conflict occurs when there are incompatible demands placed upon a person relating to their job or position. People experience role conflict when they find themselves pulled in various directions as they try to respond to the many statuses they hold. Next is the role overload. Work overload may lead to work-related stress or job-related stress, to harmful emotional and physical responses when requirements of a job do not match available individual characteristics and resources. The evidence suggests that a chronic work overload is closely related to burnout syndrome. Next is role ambiguity. Role stress is experienced when employees face role ambiguity or role conflict in the performance of their job. Role ambiguity occurs when employees have insufficient information to perform their jobs adequately or when performance evaluation methods are unclear. Next is responsibility for people. For example, a person might feel under pressure if the demands of their job, such as hours or responsibilities, are greater than they can comfortably manage. So other sources of work-related stress include conflict with co-workers or bosses, constant change, and threats to job security, such as potential redundancy. Next is the harassment. Harassment at the workplace puts a negative toll in your mental and physical health, contributing negatively to the development of many health problems. And having sleeping problems is one of these issues. It is also one of the symptoms of anxiety and stress, but also of many other mental health issues such as depression. And next is the pace of change. A new activity or situation that comes after another activity or situation which has lasted for a long time, usually singular. It took a few days off work to give himself a welcome and much needed change of pace. Next is the stressor under group level. So first, the managerial behavior. Managerial behavior, the main sources of stress for managers are their individual attitude and approach, and stress will be eliminated only if they are modified. The solution is based on the fact that managers manage themselves more efficiently, indicating that they also need professional support. Managerial behavior is a function of ability, motivation, and opportunity as reflected in various situational circumstances. Next is the lack of cohesiveness. Lack of cohesion within a team working environment is certain to affect team performance due to unnecessary stress and tension among coworkers. If the cohesiveness does not exist among employees, it may lead to job stress. Cohesiveness of the group may be lost because of the task design or animosities of group members or the supervisor trying to limit it. Next is the intragroup conflict. Intragroup conflict is conflict within a group or team where members conflict over goals or procedures. For instance, a board of directors may want to take a risk to launch a set of products on behalf of their organization in spite of dissenting opinions among several members. Next is the status incongruence. Status incongruence is generally described as psychologically stressful for the individual and has been shown to be related to health problems, both clinical and self-assessed outcomes, and all-cause mortality, but it has also been found to have associations with lack of social trust. Let's proceed to the stressor under organizational level. First is culture. Culture is not derived from any specific event or problem, but is a symptom of the psychological discomfort of encountering different lifestyles, methods of organization, and value systems that may threaten the model you have lived all your life. Next is technology. We have built a dependency on always being connected to our phones because now we can access the internet or banking, our music, and so much more. They have become our whole lives, and so there is a fear to ever be without them. This fear then leads to stress as we always have a need to feel attached. Next is structure. The structural stress definition is consistent with elementary structural mechanics theory and provides an effective measure of a stress state that pertains to fatigue behavior of welded joints in the form of both membrane and bending components. Next is the politics. Politics have always been stressful, but that stress has amped up in the past couple of years. According to a recent American Psychological Association study on stress in America, 57% of Americans say the current political climate is a significant source of stress in their lives. Next is the lack of career opportunities, which is timely relevant into our country right now because there's so many graduates that has no work for this time. Next is the feedback deficiencies. It is either negative feedback, lack of feedback, or the organization itself cannot accept the feedback from the outer world. Next is the stressor under non-work, which is first elder and child care, then the economy. Economic is the feeling of stress due to the current state of one's personal finances and or due to fear about the economy. Next is lack of mobility, lack of the ability to move around freely and without pain, while the causes of reduced mobility can differ significantly. Some are caused as a result of an advancement in age, while others can be caused by accidents, neurological damage, or other physical incapacities. Next is the volunteer work. Being in a stressful volunteer role can be just one source of stress for volunteers, but others could include poor management, conflict with other volunteers, competing demands such as work and family, as well as role overload and even pressure from friends and family to volunteer. Next is the quality of life. Quality of life is defined by the World Health Organization as an individual's perception of their position in life in the context of the culture and value systems in which they live and in relation to their goals, expectations, standards, and concerns. If they haven't reached the quality of life they've been wishing for, it will stress them. Next is the stress under individual differences. First is heredity, next age, sex, diet, social support, coping, type A personality traits, and hardiness. Under individual differences, stress susceptibility is associated with functional changes in specific neural circuits. Evidence for a critical role of stress inhibitory neural pathways in individual stress susceptibility. Stress is affected by individual differences. Why? Personality traits are often thought to affect the stress that a person perceives, and specific types of personalities seem to be more susceptible to the effects of stress than others. And under the type A personality, there are tend to multitask, be competitive, have a lot of ambition, be very organized, and dislike wasting time. Also, feel impatient or irritated when delayed. Under the hardiness, it is a personality construct composed of three traits, which are control, commitment, and challenge, that are theorized to make one resilient in the face of stress. So after the stressor, stress, we are now here in outcomes, and it is some of the outcomes behavioral. First is the satisfaction. We will be satisfied or unsatisfied. And we will be having a high or low performance, absenteeism, turnover, accidents, substance abuse, and a lots of healthcare claims. Next is the cognitive outcome of stress, and they are all self-explanatory. First is poor decision making, lack of concentration, forgetfulness, frustration, and apathy. Next is the psychological outcome of stress, and they are all
increased blood pressure, high cholesterol, and coronary
poor
heart
decision making,
disease.
lack of concentration,
If we'll take a look
forgetfulness,
at our book,
frustration,
we'll find there
and
the
apathy.
figure 7.1, an illustration of the relationship between organizational measures, stress, and outcomes. As we may recall from the definition, stress is a reaction to a behavior, circumstance, or event that places unique demands on a person. These events are shown as stresses in figure 7.1. Individual, group, organizational, and extra-organizational stresses are the four basic groups into which we have separated these stressors. Work-related factors make up the first three stressor groups. Behaviors, cognitive processes, and physiological changes are results of experiencing additional organizational and work-related stress. According to the paradigm, neither the relationship between stressors and stress nor that between stress and results, both personal and organizational, is always direct. Moderators of stress might affect these interactions, and a possible moderator is introduced in the form of individual variations including age, social support, and personality. An important quality that influences a relationship's character is a moderator. So, we concentrate our emphasis on three key moderators: the personality, type A behavior, and social support, despite the fact that many others are also quite crucial. So, that's all, and thank you.